Good morning, everyone. How are you? This is Cantor Gastón Ki Tissa, broadcasting from Vestura Beni Rock campus. This is Conversations with the Clergy from North Miami Beach in Florida. So today we are going to talk about anger or slowing anger. How to call anger in Hebrew, we call it sometimes ka'as, right? But sometimes also people relate the whole idea of anger with af, right? When God mentions specifically, it says, Ve'ichar api va'em, api is my af, my anger, my wrath. And yes, I have my friend over here. Over here, yeah. And it's there, and many times is inside us, inside me, inside you. That's the way sometimes we feel. I have to say that I love this movie, Inside Out, and how it's represented all the different emotions of the human being, and I think we can identify. I identify, with all of them, in different parts of my life, and probably many other emotions that are not depicted in this particular movie. And I can relate with anger. This one over here. Very often, I sometimes I might portray myself, or as be calm, but I get angry often, and it's, I would say that it's from my soul traits. It's probably one of the one that I came to this life, to this incarnation, to probably work the most. So it is a subject that is very, very deep in my heart and dear to me, as a soul trait to work on, and many things can lead to anger. In this parasha we have God's anger also. It's not just even the anger of Moshe, or the anger of of ourselves, but it's God himself or herself, becomes really, really upset, disappointed, and he loses it, or she loses it. And we were just talking about that God said, right, what was happening today, in this parsha and Ki Tissa is the golden calf, the famous golden calf that we all know about. And God gets really mad and says, "Ve'ata nichali va'icharappi va'em va'achalem." So now let me be, that my anger may blaze forth against them, and that they may destroy them. I mean, we're just talking about Purim, right? That the Haman, wanted to destroy us, and now it's God himself saying, I'm going to destroy the Jewish people. And so he might have been really, really, really upset and really, really angry. And so but we were just saying just 2 weeks ago, this is "Velakachti etchem li le'am ve'ayiti lachem le'Elohim." So what it says, I will take you to be my people, and I will be your God. So in this case, now people are idol worshipping because of the golden calf. They had anxiety. They are overwhelmed by waiting. They don't know. Probably we can think about another midah, talk about bitachon, the trust, right? They don't have yet the relationship with God. They still very much in Mitzrayim. They still very much connected to slavery. Slavery hasn't, really come out from their insides. So there's not like this relationship. It's like this new God appears here, okay, we'll trust. But, this guy Moses also, we trust him. But it has been so long, where is he? Where are we? What are we doing? He's our leader. Where is, we have no, to this in a parenthesis, my wife teaches me all the time that you have to be very careful, more than careful, you have to be very mindful of people, when not to create more anxiety, than that the life itself gives you, that is needed. What do I mean by that? I mean, what does she means? When she talks about this, it's like, someone is waiting for you for an answer. They ask you for something. You're telling them that you're going to work on it. Now you have two options. You can work on it, and then when you solve it, you go back to them, and then you tell them, okay, it's done, or you keep them informed, and you keep them updated with little information, so they don't create more anxiety, or they don't get more anxiety within themselves. And I think here is one of those things. There's no signs of Moses. There is no cell phone. There is no send you your location. There is no sign of life that says, okay, I am alive. I'm talking to God. I'm writing the Torah. I'm just writing what God says. Whatever it is, there is no sign of any update. But there's something we can learn, and I learned this. It's very important, to keep people informed. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, we're working on it. I just called the police, and they said so. And just every few 30 minutes, an hour. I mean, don't wait so long. Don't wait a whole day. It's like people ask you for something on the email and a text, and I know we are inundated with this. But it's important because it can also come to misleading information and to other things that we don't want to go through that either. So going back to what it says here. So God promises they're going to be my people, and now because they're my people, God wanted to really destroy them. It's not another flood. It's not another world. It's not another Breshit. It's not a Babel Tower. No, now I'm going to destroy. I mean. And here we have big protestings, because this is when Moses really advocates for the Jewish people and say, you took them out of Egypt. You got to this day, you got to this point to really say, I'm going to destroy them. I mean, slow down, baby, right? Slow down. What's going on? And here's the whole thing. It's like what is anger, and then the big question is how we can defeat anger, or can we pacify, or we can slow the anger. And so let's talk about this idea of slowing in anger, because let's try to be practical. When we slow in anger, right? And it's interesting enough to know that in this same parasha, God, it's not like he regrets, but he proposes a formula, which is the very, very important, not only important formula, but we have the highlights of the Torah is this formula that we repeat in Yom Kippur over and over again, which is the 13 midot, the 13 attributes of mercy. And one of them, right, the Ad Hashem, El Rachum Bechanun, Erech Apayim, and this is the Erech Apayim. Here we have the word af. So when you get angry, how do you go by? When you get angry, you get the right. You it's like your shortened breath. You're breathing like, there's no like a thread in that breath. There is no continuum in that breath, right? So the neshima, what we call the neshima, is the breath, which is interesting to know and to notice that it has the same shoresh, the same root of the word neshama. So the third level of our soul, right? Nefesh, ruach, and neshama, the neshama, which has the divine spark. That is the one that connects the neshima, the breath. So when we are actually getting so upset and we are about to explode, like this guy over here, let's see, trying here. Instead of exploding, we need this connection of neshima. When we don't have that connection of the neshima, of the breathing, because the breathing we know also connects with the divine, because neshima, neshama. At the same time, we know that gives us oxygen in the scientific world. We know that we get oxygen, we can get more space, and we can think better. Now, the other thing is that when we don't get that neshima or that continuum of breath, then we get the af, right? That type of agitation. And when we get that, we cannot really think well. We even know in the Torah when Moses gets angry, with the people of Israel, he forgets all his wisdom. And that's what it says also. That in Jewish tradition, we understand that anger has a relationship with being foolish. To be a fool. It's even written here. It says the sources relate to anger to foolishness. This is for anger lingers in the bosom of fools and loss of wisdom. In other words, when you are angry, how do you think you look? That's Alan Morinis asked this question. Dr. Morinis asked this question. When you're angry, how do you think you look? Just, I used to get angry, and I guess still get angry, and that's why I say, I work on this. But when I used to have fights with Marcela, with my wife, and at points, she would record me. If I would catch that recording going on, my ego will go, oh no, when someone will hear me, so it was a very good therapeutic intervention, there to really record me. But what if you're filmed and then you can even go back and watch that? How do you think you look? Yes, we look like fools. We lose all type of wisdom. We lose, and we become animals. And the difference between the animals and the human beings is that we can have a little sechel. So we can work on our emotions. We can compromise with the emotions, but we can do something about it, and we don't have to act like animals. So going back to the idea of the slow in anger, I think that's one of the main things here. So what does really mean slow in anger? Erech apayim. We were talking about this. So erech is like aroch, right? So in a way it's like something long, right? And af, apayim, is like face in a way, or your nose, right? It's your nose here, the nose. Af, apayim. So it's long. It's like a long nose, right? So you can think about this. When we make a long nose, you can think about the following. When you're about to get angry, you go like this. So look at the difference. So this guy, and then that you start reacting like that you have no way to think. And I look at him and I go like, and hold that breath. And if you repeat that before even you respond to any reaction, you'll see how better it could be. That is slowing in anger. You are slowing the process of exploding, of the bomb. I was just reading also here something that is so crucial for me. I think it's important for everyone, but what's the definition of the word anger according also to Musar? I'm trying to find it. Here it is. Anger definition: heated emotion stirred by a real, look at this, or supposed injury or insult. Most of the time when we get angry, there is something that we don't get, which is the real facts. So one another reason to really be slow in anger is that you may not really have all the facts right. Right? You may have some facts, but the facts right. How many are the times, that, and here's a story of someone who is, is waiting in the airport, and he's waiting, and someone has to pick them up, and he started getting angry, and then after a conversation, the person realizes that there is a time difference from this state, from the state that she came from. Right? So how many are those moments in our lives that we get angry and we don't have the facts? We suppose. And then we react from the supposition, and then we build up of that movie, and then build up until, and everything, if you really go back to the skeleton of what made that reaction started, that's exactly what the anger comes from. That's what creates the anger, based on a midrash, based on a supposition. And even if you have the real facts, still, is that the way to react? Is that the way you want to continue? You rather going that route that you can destroy relationships rather than slow in anger? Erech Hapaim, right? So what it says here is Rabbi Per speaks of a Musar practice, helping to open a space between the match and the fuse, right? The match and the fuse, which could be a definition of wisdom itself, because being slow to react affords us to a better perspective from which to respond. In Kabbalah, it says specifically that that when you get angry, or you're about to explore, or you're about to react, is to really do tzimtzum. What is tzimtzum? Is to self-constrict, self-constriction. So the slow in anger, you create a space between that person. So what they say is the following: in the spiritual realm in Kabbalah, it says that when you are fighting with someone, for example, there's a thread coming from the evil forces, from the evil angels, that what they do is that they want to keep that thread going. So boom, pa, boom, boom, it's a ring, boom, pa, 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 with the words, wherever. You can react with physically, you can react, violently, you can react also, violence, also, with your words, which sometimes are worse. And so they're. So the question is, who is going to be the first one who is going to cut the thread? And that's where the big question comes. Who is going to be the first one? So if you who is going to be the bigger brother, right? The big bra. So when you stop the reaction, when you do tzimtzum, you self-constrict, right? This is not like you don't have to get angry. It's not that you have to actually let yourself being abused. Not talking about that. You're talking about just the way of reacting, and we can talk about other ways to react and other ways to really approach the situation and how to face it, because it's not about being so humble, and feel so compassionate that actually you don't react even to something that feels wrong to you. It's talking about slowing the anger. So when you get that thread and you need to cut, the way to cut is to really slow in anger. Erech Hapaim, right? And at the same time, you do tzimtzum. You self-constrict yourself. That creates the cut of the thread. So then the evil forces are not there anymore because someone cut it. So you can hear, and then Erech Hapaim. What the Kabbalah says, that at that moment, in between, let's see, this person over there, like this, right? This person and me, right? Now we are creating a space. So he is screaming at me and I don't respond. And I create this space now. And this space is going to be, all of a sudden, God will have the chance to fill it with light, with divinity. That gives us the time to slow down, to think, to breathe, to connect again our neshima with our neshama. When we are agitated, we can't think. That's why meditation, mindfulness, it's the big thing today. I mean, it has been for thousands of years. It's millennium, right? It's millenary. But that's what it is. In the middle of work, you can get antsy, and then someone bombards you here, and then bombarded here, and then you can't. Yesterday, I was like so overwhelmed. I had this amount of time to finish this amount of work, and then in the middle, I had, Talia, my puppy, was like barking, and at the same time, I had, someone call me, and then my wife calls me, and then she ends up to be, kind of like the punch ball, the she's the one who actually got it. And right away, as I reacted, she asked me for something else, and I couldn't really add something else. And this is the most typical, situation why many of us, might get angry. So we get overwhelmed, and then someone asks us something else and to do or to add to our list, and then we suppose that person asked me to do this now, and now I can't because I have all these things to do, and then I react. I don't even ask. I don't have the wisdom because I'm already built up inside. I'm like about to explode like this guy, right? I feel so that's why Rabbi Per says, slowing in anger, it's the whole idea of being between the match and the fuse. So we're learning so many good things here, and we can go on and on and on and on and on. And the question that we get also here is like, how do you feel about God getting angry, right? And how do you feel about God then giving us a formula of slowing in anger? That's a question that we should probably ask ourselves, because we all have probably different ways of how we look and how we see God. And so I'll give you a question here and some most practices, because I think we got the idea, right? Even anger is related and has been always related to, interesting here, right, to idol worshipping. So what is behind the idol worshipping? We are here to work on things and to work on our soul traits and to work on our midot and to work on our, on our emotions. It's part of the tikkun we have to do here. Each of us have a different tikkun. So because you have to repair something, fix something, that's why we are here in this incarnation, here in the physical world, in Malchut, and we're not a free soul yet. It's because we have to work on things. And in order to work on those things, our belief is that God gives you the opportunities to work on it. Now, you may not believe that, but I do believe in that. And I do believe that the situations I have every day are situations for me to experience what it means, or to even have the ability to work on something that I need to fix, a tikkun of mine. So if anger is one of my things, I'm going to be bombarded daily. I'm going to be probably exposed by God, the universe, you want to call it, the angels, you want to call it, but you're going to have people who are going to try to irritate you. Not try, actually, they will irritate you, or they're there to irritate you, or situations that are there to irritate you. Like yesterday, I was telling all these things, and then someone comes, and then my wife calls. At that moment, I lost it. It's like God. It's like Moses when he lost it. He lost it, and then he lost his wisdom, and I lost it. And then I was able to fix it right away because I identify, because I'm working on it, right? So the thing and the theme here is to understand that God is the one who puts you in those situations, or puts you those people in front of you, right, in order to work on your traits that you need to work on. When you don't accept the situation, or you don't pass the test, and I get angry, I did not pass. And because I did not pass, in a way very back in our minds, when we have the chance to get back to some wisdom, we understand that we are not being faithful or truthful to God, because He puts us in those situations, and then we just reverse the whole thing, and we don't pass the test. We don't believe. We get angry at the situation that God put for us to work on, to be better, to fix. That means that we are not with Him or with her, with God. So that's why also sometimes is related to idol worshiping. So now God gets angry because we are idol worshiping, right? So now He's idol worshiping, but the idol worshiping, that's a very interesting thing. I just want to read for you something beautiful that it's not the first time that God gets angry, right? I mean, God gets angry in different parts of the Torah. God, with the golden calf now, when the Ten Commandments, God got angry too. When there was the flood, God got angry, and Mishpatim, He says that He warns people, that if you mistreat the widow, the orphan, God's anger will pour forth. He gets angry with the spies, who go to explore the land. And so there are different times, that God gets angry. And Maimonides, says that God is, has the anthropomorphic type of character, right? He's anthropomorphist. And so he rather suggests, that really God's anger in the Torah reflects really human anger, because all the things all human metaphors, right? That's what the Torah speaks with, human metaphors. That's the way we can understand. We can relate to, we say God's anger, it really is human anger. So, he gets angry also when Moses doesn't want to accept, to be the leader, and says, I'm going to find another one. God gets angry, when the Israelites are cursed by Balaam, in the book of Numbers. And so Rabbi Michelle Misagi, she suggested something beautiful, and I would like to finish with this. He says, just as God gets angry with Moses when he doesn't want to accept the job as leader of Jewish people, so too do we as humans get angry with people we love when they don't perform up to the standards that we expect of them. And that's another conversation, talk about expectations. Just as God gets angry when His Israelites may be cursed by Balaam, so too do we get angry when our loved ones are mistreated. So just as God gets angry when God is ignored by idol-worshipping Israelites, so too do we become enraged when we are disregarded or unseen. So perhaps God's anger, says Rabbi Michelle, is here to remind us that anger comes from a deep place of love. And she notes that the opposite of anger is not love, but apathy. So she suggests that when someone is angry, the question we need to ask ourselves is what they love and what they care about. Only then, she says, we will be able to peel away the anger and touch a deeper place of connections. I wish you Shabbat Shalom to everyone, and hope that we all have the ability in the time of between the match and the fuse to connect with the Neshima again. Erech Hapayim, Tzimtzum, acquire the right facts, and think with more sechel, with more wisdom, and sometimes don't respond at all. So I'll give you just a story to finish. I think you'll appreciate this. It says the following. It says that there was a suggestion, from a wife. It's a Hasidic leader who tells us this story about the holy water, and it says that Hasidic leader would dispense holy water guaranteed to eliminate all domestic conflicts. Whenever a husband or wife had an urge to argue, he or she was to hold some of the water in his or her mouth without swallowing for as long as possible. So this holy water, quotes Marx, proved to be very effective in stopping arguments and diffusing anger. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's the same thing. When you're about to rage, have a bottle of water. And believe me, that's going to slow the anger. Shabbat Shalom.